Morning, everyone. So before I just start, I wanted to ask how many people have not attended the demo last time? How many people are coming here for the first class? Okay, I see that a lot of people are coming here for the first time. So we'll just start with the quick introduction of what RPI is, and then we get into the tool. So RPA stands for Robotics Process Automation. Now, what does it exactly mean? Robotics process automation in the sense you are creating a robot which will automate a manual process. As simple as that. Okay, so what do you mean by robot? Robot is not like chips and nuts. You're creating a virtual robot, not a physical one. You're creating a program. When you say robot, you are creating a program, or you're writing a piece of code, which, when executed, will automate a manual process. And that is what robotics process automation means. So, in on a daily basis, we do a lot of manual work, right? Um, I go in the morning to the office, I fill in the time sheets. I send a lot of emails to my business clients. I work on a lot of tickets and then I close. And this is like usually repetitive in nature, right? So I'm putting a lot of my manual effort on that to do these repetitive tasks or mundane tasks. Now, what I would be doing is, instead of me doing that, I'll create a set of programs, or I'll create a set of piece of code, which when I execute it on my behalf, it will start doing it automatically. So that is what robotics process automation means. So if you take one in a real-time example, then I know that a lot of people apply for loans, right? So the loan approval process for any bank is mundane process. It's usually repetitive in nature. They go through your credit system, they check your background verifications, they check your residential verification, your a lot of other academic information, everything as well. Now, this repetitive process can be automated. So whenever you get a request for applying for a loan, then but the program will automatically go through a lot of various things, lot of decisions, and it will finally say approved or rejected. Okay, so one of the examples that I have done, one of the processes that I have automated is called as offer administration. So what it does is uh, the HR would send offer letters to every candidate. Then that is that you cracked the interview, got the job, and then the HR would send you the offer letter. So on a daily basis, a certain HR is sending around 12 to 13 offer letters to the candidates. At times, what happens is they might commit one or two mistakes while sending the offer letter to the candidate. So someone has to validate that this the whatever offer letter this HR has or the recruiter has created is actually correct or not, accurate or not. So they go to the candidate database, they'll cross-verify the notice period, they cross-verify the salary information, the start date, the notice acknowledgement period, all that information. They will someone has to cross-validate. And let us say big companies like Accenture, TCS, Infosys, they have around 700 to 800 recruiters who keep sending at least 1,000 to 2,000 offer letters per day globally, right? So we have created a bot recently where the recruiters will send the offer letter to the program or the bot or robot, which will validate against the candidate database and will give a checklist answer back. So automation can be used anywhere, not just in one particular domain, not in just retail or in finance. It can be used anywhere as well. All right. So Blue Prism is one of the RPA tools which should help you to automate this. When I say piece of code, it's not that you are writing either in Python in .NET or so. It can the scripting can be done against any tool or even your native programming language. So Blue Prism is one of the tools that would help you to automate these tasks. Apart from Blue Prism, we also have Automation Anywhere. Path, PenSpan, and we also have Pin Automation, Cycler. But the trending ones in the market are these are the four ones. So um, how one tool is different from other from a technological and functional perspective, which has high career opportunities, which is easy to learn. I know that these are the usual points that you look at before you are touching a tool. So I don't want to cover that later in the demo session, but let us dig into the Blue Prism tool. Once you get a hang of it, I'll just give you high level differences between these tools. Okay. So the Blue Prism we are using is currently version 6. It's the latest in the market. Let me launch it again. So version 6 is the latest in the market. It's released on November 26, 2017. It's been almost 6 to 7 months since the version 6 has been released. But however, not all clients have migrated to the version 6. A lot of people are still stuck at version 5 only. And there is a high chance that during the interview, the questions will be asked mostly on version 5 itself because not everyone have upgraded to the 6. Okay, but fundamentally both are pretty much the same. The 6 is nothing but 5 plus some extra features. There's from the UI perspective, everything looks same. And now you have an option to either install version 5 or version 6 when you're getting installed. Just reach out to the admin team. So The moment I launch the tool, I see some of the components here. We see home, studio, control, analytics, release, and system. So on a high level, let us have a brief uh, check on what each of this component is before we get into the coding part. Okay, so the moment I launch the Blue Prism, I get this home or I get this complicated chart. This is called as a dashboard. So or in version 6, it's called as analytics. This and home are pretty much the same. So this is the graphical representation of the code that's getting executed. You don't have to create anything. This is automatically gets populated. So the more number of bots you create, the more number of bots you release. This graph will automatically gets generated. This is just for the client's purpose to have a glance, overall glance of the bots that are executing. This is nothing but the dashboard metrics. So home and analytics, or in version 5, it's called as dashboard. So we'll just stick to that word dashboard. Dashboard. Okay. And then comes the studio tab. Studio tab is where you write the code. In fact, so when I talk about studio, there are two components under studio. One is a process studio, and then there is an object studio. We'll get back on these two subcomponents once you finish the other components. But just remember, the studio tab is where you actually write your code. This is your work area. This is your workspace. Okay, and then the control room. Ideally, what is a control room? So when you take a building or you take an office, there is something called as a control room. Control room is a monitoring area of the Blue Prism. So ideally, if you have a building, right, let us say a lot of cameras are installed around the building. Now there will be a room where all those camera feeds can be monitored from. Without actually going to the particular place, you just install a camera and the feed can be seen from a particular room. That's what is a control room is. That's where you have monitor eyes on everything, right? So even in Blue Prism, that's what a control room is. So let us say that I have deployed or I have installed my Blue Prism in 15 to 20 different machines and I have deployed my bots there. Now I do not have to log into each server and then see if the bot is running or the program is executing correctly or not. I can look at it from one place. That is what is called as a control room. Control room is the place where you do not have to log into servers. You can have all those bot executions, all those process executions at you can monitor all those execution at one place. That is what is called as a control room. Okay, and then release manager. If you want to export the code physically as a file and then import it to a different machine, let us say that I have written my code in machine A or computer A. I want to migrate that code from A to B. And that is what Release Manager would help you. You can export and import the code. We have even version controlling all that in part as part of the Release Manager. And finally, System Manager. System Manager is the administrative area of the Blue Prism. This is where you can control user roles, user groups. This is where you can store the credential information, the sensitive information. This is where you can see the object log, the process logs, everything, the reporting, everything is done at the System Manager level. This is the administrative area of the Blue Prism. Let us get back into the studio component. So this is where we spend most of our time on, since this is where the coding actually is done a lot. So I said under studio we have a process studio and then we have an object studio. Now why do I have two subcomponents? What again, both are places where you write your code, but now why do I have two different components is because any kind of work you're doing, there are applications that are involved. So even though the workflow is same, there could be multiple applications. So you might be using Outlook to send and receive emails. You might be using Excel to feed in some information. You might be using database to fetch some data. You might be using some Windows-based application, some web-based application. You might be relying on application to do your work. And it's not that you're relying only on one application. In the work you do, you simultaneously rely on more than one application. Somewhere parallel, sometimes 2 to 3 applications in parallel. You copy the data from database, you paste it to Excel, you take the data from Excel, you trade through some table inside a web-based application, start filling it. So there are certain applications that get involved during the workflow, right? So you need to write code for each application, because what you are doing is you're creating a program which will replicate your actions. Now let us say that you got an email with an Excel file, and you open that Excel file, you write that data into the database. Now you're interacting with 3 applications. You're using Mailbox or Outlook to retrieve that email. You're saving that attachment. You're using Excel file to open that Excel. You're writing some database queries against that, and then you are using that Excel file to import the data into the database. Now there are 3 applications involved in this scenario. The way you are interacting with these 3 applications to get the task done, similarly the Blue Prism has to do the same thing as well. Similarly, the Blue Prism also has to do the same thing as well. So you have to write the piece of code for each application in a separate page. Outlook or email related code, I'll be writing it one page, and Excel related code I'll be writing in one page, and database related code I'll be writing in one page. So each code should be written independently into their own pages to have that segregation of the access, right? So that each page is called as an object or a business object. So I have 3 applications in my work that I am automating on. I create 3 objects, namely those 3 applications, Excel, database, or email, or Windows web based, whatever you're using. Each application code should be written into an each object. And process means process is the one who would manage and organize these objects that you have created as part of the workflow. You write your business decisions, you write your business logic, all that in the process level. You write your application actions of that relevant application in the object. Let us take a small example. We'll focus on object today as a part of the demonstration process. We'll probably see in the first class. So let us say that I want to automate an application. What is the simplest application? Notepad, right? So I want to automate Notepad application. Okay. So I am only using one application, so I need to create only one object as of now. So right click on that object. Right click on that object and choose create object. I'll call this object as Notepad, since it's the one that I'm planning to automate on. So I created a business object called Notepad. Now, what I want to do is I want to launch the Notepad, write something into the Notepad, and finally close the Notepad. These are the steps that I want to automate. Okay, so this is how the business object or the object would look like. So ideally, in a Blue Prism, no matter whether it's a blue object or a process, the code would look like a flowchart. You would not be actually writing lines of code, rather it would look some sort of a flowchart, executable flowchart to be exact. All right. So your flowchart has a start point and end point. Any piece of code you're writing should be between your start and end. My first step is to launch the Notepad. See, ideally to launch any application, you should know where is the .exe of that application is present. Right. So now you're telling Blue Prism to launch that application, but ideally you did not specify where the .exe of that Notepad is present to the Blue Prism. First, you need to specify that. To specify that, we have something called as an application modeler here. You are writing a code in the Blue Prism to interact with an application. Click on the buttons, write into text boxes. So to interact with that application, first you need to create some kind of link between the Blue Prism and that application. That link or that mediator is called as application modeler. So application modeler is used to link your Blue Prism against that application that you want to automate. My application name is simply Notepad. Next, what kind of application is my Notepad? My Notepad is a Windows-based application, so I'm choosing that. My application launches from an executable file. Notepad.exe is the executable file of. Okay, this is where I'm supposed to give the. So within the C drive in Windows, you'd find it. Notepad.exe. Choose next. Can you skip this for now? And then you click on finish. So now the Notepad has successfully integrated with the Blue Prism application. When I click on the launch, you would observe that the Notepad has successfully launched. Okay, that means the integration has been done correctly. So now you specified the .exe of the Notepad within the Blue Prism. My next step is to write the piece of code for automatically launching the Notepad, writing something into the Notepad, and finally closing that Notepad. Okay. So to launch the Notepad, so to perform any action on the Notepad, we have a stage called. So to your left side is a panel where which contains all the stages. So these are the stages that would help you to write your piece of code. As I said, it's a flowchart. So these are the components of each flowchart: the decision box, the choice stage, the calculation box. All that will be present here. The read stage, the write stage. The one I have to use now is a navigate stage. Navigate stage is used to perform any task on an application. If you want to write into something, if you want to launch, close, minimize, anything you want to do at an application level, you use the navigate stage. So double click on the navigate stage. Now what I want to do, I want to perform a launch action on the Notepad application. So if you drag and drop the Notepad element onto the here, then the drop down gets activated. From the list of actions, I need to choose launch. Simple as that. Launch Notepad is my stage name. Let us link this and execute and see if it's working as expected. So every time you need to map, since it's a flowchart, you need to end from start to end stage. You need to link them. You start, you launch your Notepad, and then you end, working as expected. My next step is to type something into that Notepad. Ideally, how do you type into Notepad? The moment you start pressing your keyboard, wherever the cursor is present, it will start typing in there, right? So I want my Blue Prism all to replicate the same action. It has to send the keys. So what happens when you type the keyboard? The keystrokes or key inputs will be sent to that application, and then wherever the cursor is present, it will start writing there. So Blue Prism also has to virtually send key inputs or keystrokes to that application. So within the navigate stage itself, we have an option: global send keys. Where I want to perform the send keys action to the Notepad. What I want to send key, so what I want to send is should be written here. So what I'm sending is a text, and it should be written in double quote. What am I doing? Writing to Notepad. So you launch your Notepad, and then you link it to write to your Notepad, and finally you end it. When you execute this, you start, you launch your Notepad, and then you write to your Notepad as well. My third step is to close that Notepad. So we have an option again, if you might have already observed in the navigate stage itself, have an option called terminate. What does terminate do? It kills the process, stops the application, right? Terminate in the sense kill or stop. So what it does, it closes the Notepad. So when I link all these three, and if I execute it again, it launches the Notepad, writes something into the Notepad, and finally closes the Notepad. So I automated these three steps using Blue Prism. That's how the Blue Prism works. If you look at it, you are not writing any specific piece of code, rather you are just using drag and drop functionality. Any questions so far? All right, so we'll just park the tool aside for now. So I think from a demo perspective, this covers it, but we'll just talk about the course duration, the content that we are going to cover, and the other things. The course duration is 25 working days or 25 classes. Okay, it's Monday to Saturday for 4 weeks. As part of the course, the things that we are going to cover are, we will be covering two projects, end-to-end live-based scenario projects, on our Windows application, and the other on web-based application. We cover three use cases, one on Citrix automation, and the SAP automation, JavaScript automation. We also cover two POCs, two proof of concepts, one on Excel consolidation, and the other one is PDF extraction. Apart from this, we also cover on lifecycle, the documentation, FTE calculation, development estimations, everything will be covered. So this is the course content that we would be covering. On the first week, we'll focus on the tool, get familiar to the tool. Second week, we'll focus on the first project and first POC. Third week, we'll focus on one use case, second project, and Fourth week you'll be focusing on the second POC, the life cycle and documentation, and the other two use cases. So this is the course. There is no weekend class in the sense exclusive weekend classes are not present for Blue Prism. Yeah, for UiPath, however, but Monday to Saturday is the weekday timings. Blue Prism.
Hello, sir.
Yes, tell me.
Sir, actually, in real time, how we are going to do that? Just now you given the example of Notepad, right? So, in real time, then how we are going to work on that?
So any project there could be a notepad functionality involved. So let us say that in real time, whenever my body's execution is failing, then I want to log that information into a notepad. So I can use this reusable component to log that error file into a particular notepad, or error information into a notepad. So any kind of piece of code you're writing, it's not exclusive to that process, but it can be reusable to other projects as well. Okay?
So, in real time, also, we are going to take like a Windows application like that,
Yes, exactly.
like that is .exe file.
Executable components. Yes, it could be a web-based application, it could be SAP, it could be a mainframe. It could be a Citrix-based auto application, or it could be a normal .exe Windows application. Any of that. Okay.
Okay. So, we are going to do total project, or it's like dependent on the modules like this, huh?
No, no, it's a total project end to end.
Okay.
Yeah, you get to have the Blue Prism software for practice. As I said, you can get either 5 or 6, either of them installed. Just reach out to Visualpath. It means they'll get you installed in your laptops. Okay. It's a lifetime license. You do not have to. There is no specific trial. Once you get installed, you can use it as long as you like it. Any other questions? I do. I help in resume preparation. I also help in daily. I spend around 15 to 20 minutes on the interview on the last week to get you prepared for the companies. So much is the fees is something that you need to reach out to Visualpath for. Any critical questions you can ask me. Yes, I'm talking about experienced people itself. For experienced people itself. You might have to put some .NET for Blue Prism around at least 6 months. So I'll help you on that as
Hello, sir. So, one small doubt, sir.
well.
So, in the same, like we are going to write any code in the live project.
So in real time, you never have any chance to write the code, but however, from the training perspective, I just teach you basics required for RP.
So,
So we
depend upon the
report.
execution of the project only, we are going to write everything, right?
Yeah.
Hi, this is Sauranya here. So, is it needed to keep the .NET experience? Like, I'm from retail background, so is it needed
So
to
it's
keep
not
.NET?
mandatory, it's not needed, but it's better to just keep 6 months .NET support or something, so that your resume gets filtered from by the HR. So that's
Oh,
okay. Not like from interview perspective, to ask anything.
okay. And which version do you recommend to download? 5.6 or 6?
I recommend version 6 because people are slowly moving. Currently, questions are asked not even at 5 itself, but by the time you guys prepare and then start attending interviews, the questions might be updated to version 6. Again, version 6 is nothing but 5 plus something, so it's not like you're losing anything. In fact, you're gaining more. Okay. Yeah. So one of these classes, I'm going to cover you what are the extra features of 6 as well. Not worry.
So, if we joining in any like as an experienced person, so after joining, is there any support is required? Then is it available, sir?
That comes under technical support. You can always reach out to me if that is something minor, but if you want to spend much time, then you can connect offline.
And you do cover the differences between the 5.6 and 6.0, right?
Yes, I do. Any other questions?
I have one. Like when we are covering the projects, what is the purpose of covering the use cases and POCs?
You mean in real time or in this particular course?
In this particular course?
So mean the time frame I'm spending on each of the use cases. That's your question.
Mm-hmm. So when we cover the projects, pretty much we are going to deal with the tool, right? So what is the need for the use case and POCs?
The reason because I need to cover all the applications. See, when I cover the projects, I cannot cover all the applications, right? SAP is one application that the Blue Prism interacts with it differently. Outlook is another application the Blue Prism interacts with differently. Mainframe is another application. Citrix based is another application. So as a part of a project, I might be covering one or two applications, but I just wanted to show you from a use case perspective. Okay, this is how the Blue Prism interacts with this kind of application. There are some exceptions as well. So SAP Blue Prism, we have something called as SAP mode, a plugin which kind of helps you to automate mainframes. We have something called reflection mechanism. Citrix based, we use something called as OCR technology. So that is where the use cases will come into picture. Your native Windows and web applications will always behave same from the Blue Prism perspective. Got it?
Oh, understood. Thank you.
Yes.
Hi, Jayant. This is Siddharth. Jayant?
Yeah, tell me.
Hello. Yeah, you can hear me,
Yeah,
right?
tell me. Yes.
I come from a totally non-IT background, and I'm just wondering what level of preparation is required for .NET, because in the course booklet which I was given, you would be covering Excel, in which I see that there are macros, right?
Exactly.
So would I be reading .NET over there? Is that the only
No,
place
the
that I
macros is
can
VB. It's not mostly .NET. When I say macros,
okay.
it's VBA,
Okay.
not even VB. Visual Basic
Okay.
Access, which would
Okay.
take. I don't think it'll take more than a day or two for you to get ready for that. It's the basics level that's required. It's not in the in depth.
So it's like on the during the classes, if I need help or some sort of a remedial,
Yeah,
would you be
sure.
taking session as an because I don't want to spend another 6 months just to get to know what is .NET and everything. So I want to
I
go on with
understand.
this process. Yeah, would I be getting that help? If that is clear, then probably I can decide on that thing. That's my criteria.
Yeah, you would get the necessary help for that to get started.
Okay, and another thing which I want to discuss is the sector. So what I see in this demo session is you are much more inclined to an IT perspective. I work in totally a marketing sector. So would I be getting any sort of a case which is related somehow? I see that it's all application based. I do understand these cases. But let's say if you're working for an FMCG and you're consulting for them, so I see that, let's say they have SAP installed also, right? So in that perspective, would you be at least giving as a separate thing, so that would you be giving me a case separately, not maybe for a session, so that I can at least work, and whatever doubts I have, I might get clarified with you separately, like
Sure,
individually, like that. And
sure.
that sort of
So
help,
when you talk
I
about
assume.
RPA, right? Yes. Okay. So when you
Yeah. So,
talk about RPA, it's in horizontal.
okay.
It's not. So it's not that the RPA can be used only in this particular finance sector, in the marketing sector,
Yes.
or
Yes.
in retail
Mhm.
sector. So repetitive work can be found anywhere, right? If you want to use
Great.
case something similar to that, I can provide that. Probably if you
Sure.
want to
Sure.
put in your resume or you wanted to have a clear understanding of the process works, I can give
Okay.
it exclusive one for you so that you'll have a clearer notion.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. And one more thing, Jayant, because we didn't get an introduction from your end, I would just want to understand, like, what would be the sectors which you have earlier worked on, or maybe the projects, so
So
that we can.
first I was
Yeah.
working for a banking sector, NAG it's called as. I don't wanted to reveal the full form.
Okay.
It's
No problem. Yeah. Yeah.
Australian bank. And then I
Mhm.
moved on to a retail project. It's one of the
Okay.
alcoholic beverages from Poland. And then now I'm working in a banking firm. So I'm working in a product based one of the top banks, US banks I'm currently working for.
Yeah.
I have seen
Okay.
my colleagues, couple of my old colleagues working for one of the big four companies. Couple of them are
Great.
working for healthcare sector as well. So it's
Oh,
there everywhere.
nice. Great. 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 Thank you. Thank you. That's all I want to get clarified. Thank you.
Yeah. So I think that's pretty much it, guys. Then we'll catch up on the first class starting tomorrow. All right then.